and it was my first time I had to dance. I call dance with death because I literally saw death in the face, and I barely made it. So at that point, it really it tore me apart at that point because suddenly now I have to move back to my hometown. I kind of had to kind of give up my friends because I didn't feel good enough because suddenly now I'm starting to get blind. And I mean, how do you deal with that?
Alright, fam. Well, it's time to engage. Mutsa front and center, enter the stage. Mind, body, and spirit to try synergy. Ask, not like Kennedy. Feel the energy. Jump as you live. Try to give all positive vibes. Ignite your cognitive senses. The consensus, Mutsa stupendous, tremendous, and kicks like Juventus. Always on point, sharp like a knife, cutting through the bull, tame the strife of life. With no type of hype, don't like, take a hike, or roll the dice, grab the mic, connect like Skype. No need to save face, it's a safe space conducive to mental fitness, wellness inclusive. Chasing nirvana, elusive. Instead, shed the abusive pattern, real like the rings of Saturn. Full circle, Mutsa is in purple, royalty regal. She's killing you with kindness, it's almost illegal. So my people, life is up and down like a seesaw. Calito, fly away high like an eagle. Watch the leaves grow. Once my flow is flawless, then it's finito.
To win, to conquer, to thrive, to survive. We have our guest in the house and we are super excited. So welcome, Dan. How are you?
I'm Mutsa. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. It's a beautiful day. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. I'm super excited to get to know you today. I know you're a bit anxious asking me, oh, what questions should I expect? But you know what? I just want you to relax today. I want you to relax, and it's nothing but inspiration. We want to get inspiration out of your story. We want the world to hear your story, and maybe one or two, even if one person gets inspired, that's enough for us. So thank you.
Awesome. I will do so. Hi, everyone. My name is Dave Simon, and I'm currently living in Kenton-on-Sea, South Africa. So I was born in 1992 in Johannesburg, and I moved down here to start a brand new life and a brand new journey and write a complete new story of what I want to do with my life. And yeah, many things changed, and I'm super excited to share it with you guys. And yeah, I am currently a DJ. For those of you who don't know what it is, I make music and I mix music, and also currently broadcast in Spain and the UK on 2 networks, and actually 3 networks right now. And yeah, I mean, I'm currently the only South African that's currently doing it in my field. So I'm very excited to share that with you as well, and the journey of my journey as becoming an house DJ. And also a guy that's doing it with one hand. I live with a disability of the surviving 2 brain strokes, but we will get more into that when the questions are asked, and I'm super amped to go forward.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that
Pleasure.
information. So you mentioned that you've just moved to South Africa. Where did you live before you moved to South Africa?
Well, I was born in Johannesburg, Gauteng, South Africa, but I moved down to the Eastern Cape, which is Kenton-on-Sea.
Right.
So I moved there. Yeah, I moved down in the brand new town, small town from the city life. So it's different environment, different people, different scenery, literally different everything.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so what was life like growing up in Johannesburg in South Africa? We have people tuned in from all over the world. Some people don't know Joburg. Some people know Joburg. I know Joburg. Beautiful. What was life like growing up?
Well, life was all right. So I come from a family which is very down to earth, and they lived on a farm and moved to the city when they had us. So growing up was kind of like growing into a city life, a lot of hustling, a lot of traffic, a lot of stuff, but with down to values. So it was it was quite something to adapt to, but I'm proud to say that, we were raised with good values, and what we've been through and the things we've done in the city, it's been absolutely amazing. But yeah, my life was pretty ordinary outside of that. I went to primary school, I went to high school, I did my sports, I did my academics, just did the things a normal guy should do growing up.
Right.
And then, and it had its challenges, but also was great. Many people, many cultures. It's just something, it's amazing, to be honest. And yeah, I mean, life was really good up to a point where we had to make some changes, but we will get to that soon.
If there's anything sensitive that you don't want me to share, please, you don't have to share anything. You mentioned the fact that disability, right?
Yes.
What impact did that have on you growing up?
Okay, so out of all honesty, it's not a sensitive case. I'm very open about it because I'm using this disability as a thing to make people aware that, hey, it's something that can help you unlock your purpose. So that's not really anything that's case sensitive, but I'm just going to rewind a little bit. I had 2 brain strokes, but my first one I had at age 23. It was at the time when I was in university in Pretoria, University of Pretoria, and it was in my in examinations. And during that time, I had a brain bleed, a stroke, and yeah, it completely changed everything for me. I suddenly had to suspend my studies because of it, and have to move back to my own hometown to be able to recover. And that's really where it all started. The first thing that happened at that time was that I got a bit blind, up to a point where doctors really didn't know what to do with me. It was such a unique case that they investigated everything of me. They did brain scans, CT scans, you name it, and they presented to a variety of board members, professional doctors, even getting doctors in from overseas to get their advice of what should be done. And yeah, and that moment of my life, I was in university. I did some sports there. I was in residence, and I did my academics, and I had a lot of friends, and I know a lot of people. And suddenly this thing happens to you, which literally changes your life like that. And in that time when I had the incident, and suddenly they decided that they were in the process of building a new machine because they had to give me radio surgery. They couldn't physically operate in my brain because it was too deep to operate. And at that moment, I had to go back home, and I had to wait for the time being for the machine to be built, which was imported from Germany, all pieces and equipment, all parts and everything. So that they had to assemble it. It took about 8 months to assemble in South Africa at a little company of Mary Pretoria. And yeah, so I was one of the first people to get the surgery done, and it was a success. But as a consequence of the surgery, it made me 50% blind, and it also led up to a second stroke. And the second stroke, which happened in 2 years after the first one, made me disabled in my left side of my body. So yeah, doctors told me, Dave, you should be in a wheelchair. You should be on chronic medication. You will not have your life back again. And at that point in my life, it really hit me on a really deep level that I believed that I was not good enough. So, I mean, how do you expect not to go insane when suddenly you were this fit guy, and now you're supposed to be in a wheelchair at such a young age? I mean, at age 25. How do you process that? How do you explain to people how difficult that is? So, I thought, honestly, yes, it changed my life dramatically. It changed literally everything. I had to restart my studies with distant learning. I had to live from home the entire time. I couldn't drive for almost 3 years. I couldn't drive my own car because of the blindness and disability. Then it was yeah, a ton of rehab just to get some function back. So it's been a very long journey to be able to be where I am at today. And the thing is, I will honestly, if I look back on it right now, I can honestly say I'm kind of grateful for it, because it gave me a lot of perspective. It gave me a lot of wisdom, and it made me strong in ways that I can't possibly explain to you. And the reason why I'm not affected by it anymore, because I kind of say that I have a disability, but I'm proud of it, because it makes me who I am. And how I'm proud of it, because I always wanted to be inspirational for people. Even over my years, I've always been good with people, trying to get into their minds and really build them up. And becoming inspiration is kind of like you were given an opportunity to become an inspiration. And that opportunity gave you suffering at first. So now you survive through that and you start to becoming better out of it. You actually inspire people in the process. Like I previously mentioned before, I'm grateful for it because it makes me who I am today. And I'm very excited to what it will bring in the time to come.
Wow, okay. I've got so much to ask you, but I just want clarity before we move on. So, were you born with the disability?
No.
Right.
No, I was born healthy guy. I was a top athlete. I was performing. I did a lot of things. I was active as can be. And the disability made me that I couldn't be that active anymore. You know, I couldn't run. I couldn't do all those things I used to do. I couldn't cycle. So you understand, not doing those things at such a young age changed everything.
Wow. Okay. So that changes the whole dynamics. And I really, really hope that there are a lot of people listening in, because there's a lot of inspiration right here. So you were born normal, everything was fine, everything perfect. An athlete, you know, you finished school, even went on to uni, and then when you're in uni, the stroke came, the first one.
Yeah. Yes.
The first one. Were there any signs prior to that? Were you stressed, or did it just come? Was there anything like, I also want to educate people around the stroke, or was there any pressure around, or something that triggered it, or anything?
Well, honestly, I would say uncertainty and stress. I think that at that moment, when I reflect back on what I studied, like I studied BCom accounting sciences. And I just realized at that point that it was a ton of stress for me to handle. And I studied that because it was a very demanding field. And I love numbers, but I love people more. And I think at that moment in my life, when I reflect back on it right now, it caused a lot of stress for me. And I wasn't really doing the thing I really wanted to do with my life. And that all added up. So yeah, stress and uncertainty and not living your purpose added to the first stroke that changed everything.
Right. There's something important that you mentioned there, and I feel like there is it's something we really need to talk about. You say that so you had stress from the fact that you were leaving a life that you didn't want to live. You were in uni doing this degree that you didn't want to do in the first place.
Yes.
Why did you do it?
Well, I did it because honestly, at that current moment, it was, I was well appointed by leading doctors. They told me that this is a really good course for you. I'm good with numbers, and it's a demanding field. It's a safe degree to study to have a future, because I was raised in a middle class home when it was taught you should get a good degree. You should get something on your name that's gonna make you decent money in the time to come. And yeah, I followed that route. And I need to realize really late in my life that that was not the route for me. At that moment in my life, I thought that was the right decision, but it wasn't.
And you're only 23 years old and you have all this weight on your shoulder. And
Yes.
I think it's a perfect time for us to speak on these things around mental well-being, mental health, and the impact it has, even if you are just a child, even if you're seen as, you know, you're a guy that has it all together, you're good looking, you know what I mean? I can see that you're good looking, you know, you're an athlete and everything. And obviously you had the pressure from your family that this is what you need to do in order for you to secure your future.
Yes.
But in essence, that was against your code as a person, but you didn't have the courage, or is it the say at that time to say, look, this is not me. I really don't want to do it. What was it? Was it the fear of disappointing your family? What was it?
Yeah, that too. But also coming into university, my passions just started to expand because because as I came to university, I got exposed to a lot of people and a lot of cultures, and that's enabled me to grow in various directions. So it enabled me to realize, you know what, Dave, you love people, you should work with people. If you're going to sit in working numbers all day in an office, you're going to literally lose your personality. So you have to make a decision. But I went with it. I must say, for honesty, I did like the field I was doing. I didn't love it as I was supposed to love it, if I can put it that way. I was against it. I was not against it. I was all for it, but not 110% for it.
Right. So and then obviously at that point you already know, and I think there's a lesson to us as society, as people, as human beings. There's a lesson here that, you know, sometimes you might think you're pushing your vision because society or the people around you think that is what's best for you, but actually the impact it has on the person that you are trying to say they should be like this or they should live like this could be drastic. In your case, it was unfortunate. You had a stroke, somebody that was not born with a disability. You ended up getting a disability and things escalated. Life changed overnight for following a path that society or dogma had set for you to say you need to follow that path.
Yes.
If you were to go back today, before I move into the other questions, whilst we're on that, if we're to go back in time and you know what you know now, what advice would you give people that are in that predicament? Because, you know, sometimes it's hard, especially, you know, when the expectations set around you as an individual. Sometimes it's hard to pursue your dream because sometimes there are responsibilities. Sometimes your family have said, well, you know, this is what will work for you. Other people have said, this is what will work for you. Now that you know what you know now and the impact it has in your life, what would you say to that person that is living a lie, or that person that is at the border of wanting to pursue what they love?
Well, out of all honesty, if I can go back in time, first thing first, I want to mention this before I can answer this on a different level. So that if I can go back in time, and especially to younger people who just left high school, want to go to university, and they are unsure about what they want to do with their lives, in that aspect, I want to give advice saying that, you know what, take a year or two off for yourself and go find yourself. Because if you make a wrong decision, it can cost you many more years than just maybe a year or two. So my advice is to especially young people, is that it's not a bad thing to take a gap year or two. Go find yourself. Go find what makes you really happy. What makes you really happy inside first, before you just decide what to do with your life. I know society can be very it can add a lot of pressure, and with social media saying that no, you should be married by 23 and you should have kids by 25. You should never save income by that. I mean, to me, this is just advice I would give, is say, you know what, honestly, I would say move to a different environment if you can. Take a gap year, get yourself a new cell phone number, and just disconnect yourself from social media for a little bit, and go find who you are, go find who you want to be. And when you escape from the life that you were raised in, and you just do it for the right reasons, you will actually find that you will start to really like the things that you want to do with your life. You will find it, and it will connect you with people that will help you unlock your purpose. So, and then that will provide clarity for you for the path forward. And if I can sum it all up by say, you have to be happy with what you're doing.
Right.
And if you're happy working with people, then pursue something that's with people that you feel connected to. If you're happy with animals, but you were raised in a home that states that you must become a politician, then it's either a decision of saying, do you want to impress your family, or do you want to put yourself first? And you kind of have to put yourself first, even from a young age. And I learned that the hard way, and it cost me quite a few years to realize that.
Absolutely.
And yeah, but also in general, if you are in a very difficult situation, and if you want to make a shift, you want to make a change, then obviously the first thing I would advise is change the environment. I mean, even if you have to go for a week or two, you just have to escape to nature, do something out of the ordinary, take a risk, go travel for a month, even if you have to go out in the soup kitchen in a different city or a different town, just to go find yourself and do it. Because I mean, you have to prioritize yourself first, no matter your situation. And if you continue to live a life that's always about impressing other people and satisfying someone else before yourself, you will continue to live a lie. And that's only going to hurt you in the long run as well. So rather cry now and make the shift right now, take the small action right now, instead of, how do I say, putting it on hold. Let's say I will do it in a year or two. I mean, you are not sure that you can live in a year or two. I mean, my life changed like that with a stroke. At that time, I wanted to go overseas, but suddenly I had a stroke and everything changed to me. I mean, if you want to make a shift, don't wait till tomorrow. Do it now. I mean, do it right now. Get to your car and go. Go for a weekend. Go for a weekend and just disconnect yourself a little bit, and just find yourself first and connect with who you are and what you want to be. Even if it takes a day or two, maybe it takes a week, maybe it takes 2 weeks, maybe it takes 2 years. I don't know. But doing something for yourself first, there's just so much reward in finding yourself, who you are, and that means putting yourself first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have 3 questions from what you have said. Let's flip the coin. What would you say to people that have, or families or parents, us as parents, or people that have expectations on people to say, this is what I expect from you. This is, we think you do well in this, and we put that pressure on people. What would you say to families of the person that wants to go and pursue what they love? What advice would you give them?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So the thing is that I can understand that families put pressure on their children because they want them to be better. They want them to be better than who they are and who they were, because maybe they've had it really hard growing up, and they want to provide the best for their children. Maybe they have saved for many years so their children can go for education and things like that. And I can understand from a parent point of view that they kind of want to put a pressure on their children because they want them to grow. They want to be able to give their child the best future they can possibly be, because maybe they haven't had that from their parents, and they're trying to give their children the things that they didn't receive as a child. And I think suddenly you're dealing with a child that's trying to stand up for him or herself, because you are putting pressure on your child for doing something that he or she doesn't really want to do. I need to realize later, but that's not what they really want to do. And at that perspective, I can think that can hurt the parent a lot, because they're saved, they've done so much effort, they've spent so much time, they made so many sacrifices to help their children to grow, and now suddenly your kid tells you in the face, you know what, mom, dad, I don't like this at all, what I'm doing. I know you guys are trying to do the best for me, but I am not happy. And the thing is that the challenge, I would rather say that it's not about trying to disconnect from your kid or trying to push them away because they make a different decision. I would say parents should challenge their children in a journey that they want to pursue. For example, if they are, let's say your kid is pursuing a degree in finance, but your kid actually wants to be a musician, then instead of pressuring your kid for all these extra classes, say, you know what, okay, my child, let me challenge you by, let's start with 1 or 2 hours a week giving you musical lessons. Let's start with that. Let's challenge you tiny bit at a time to make sure that that's what you really want to do, instead of just sacrificing everything at one point, cutting everything off, and then leave them be on their own. No, I'd say parents should grow with their children in the stuff that they want to do, even if it's by starting a little bit at a time, so that their parents can have a better bond with their children. Because if parents just cut their children off because they want to make a change, then you are actually just hurting your child in the process. You want to grow with your kids, not against them. You don't want to push them away. And I know you as a parent has done so many things for your child, but grow with them. Take a journey on growing with them in the things that they really want to do. And that can enable you to grow a much better bond with your child. And once you have that bond, then you will know that you as parents might be transformed in a different way as well. And I think that is the joy of being a parent, that you can get to able to grow with your children in the things that they want to do as well for themselves. And if you are a parent and you have sacrificed so many things for your child, then kudos to you. I mean, I think you're doing a great job by looking out for your kid. But go ahead and listen to what your child really wants to do and challenge them. Even if it's 1 or 2 hours a week, challenge them, grow with them the journey. See if it really is something, and if it is and it makes your child happy, then I mean that will make you happy in the process as well. And that's worth pursuing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that clarity. And then this other question I'm going to ask before we take a quick break is the question of, what about to the person? So like me, I'm old now, I'm grown and I've done everything. And all of a sudden now I have kids, I have a lot of responsibilities. What advice would you give me? Because, you've had a near-death experience. If I'm to say, right, I'm going to walk away from everything that I know because I'm going to pursue things that I love, what advice would you give me in that case?
Well, honestly, in this case, first things first, I can say for honesty, I don't know what it is to be a parent. So I can say that honestly. So, but what I think is that I think you as a parent, let's say you're already doing so much, you've always so much responsibility. I think that it's not a bad thing to take a little bit of me time, but a little me time can be just a day of disconnecting. You prepare for your children to be sorted out for that day, and you just take one day, you leave your phone in the car, you go walk for a day in nature. I would advise go to nature, go for a walk, disconnect your phone, take an entire day off for yourself. And in that moment of that day, when you take a walk, some things might just enter your mind and you might just start to get clarity on really what things you want to pursue. And all the ideas that you get inside your head, and that kind of moment when you are relieved of those stresses that of the children, everything like that, write them down. And when you go back home and you sit there and you look at what you've written down, you might actually be surprised what you've put on paper. And then when you start reading of what you put on paper, it might start getting your mind thinking, you know what, how can this actually, what I've written down, be beneficial to myself first, but also to my family?
Yeah, absolutely. It takes courage It takes
It does.
courage, I think, from where we are as you grow older and you have all these responsibilities, and then all of a sudden you think, because what you're saying is very important, and especially this is the reason why we have this show. A lot of people are living a lie. A lot of people are living somebody else's dream because they never had the courage to say, you know what, I am going to pursue what I love. A lot of people are following dogma because they think, okay, I'll go and be a nurse, a social worker, yada, 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 because it will give me that source of security or that source of income. But you are a perfect example that nothing is never secure. And nothing is, there's no security in anything you do. You might try and mitigate it, but there's no security. Looking at a reflection of your life, that you had it all planned out. You wanted to go overseas, and then all of a sudden you had the stroke, and you know, all of these things. So I wanted to ask another question to you. You kept mentioning the fact that you need to spend time to find yourself.
Yes.
You have to find yourself. How do you find yourself? Because we use that term a lot, but I don't think a lot of people sometimes understand what it means. How do you find yourself from your experience?
Okay, well, honestly, finding yourself can be quite challenging. It's not as easy as people might say it is, and I can vouch for that. The way I found myself was by first moving to a different location. I moved from a big city to a small town, and different people, but also when I moved to a small town, it just adds up to the change, is that I didn't really find it as welcoming as I thought it's going to be. I'm just going to say that, because I was a new person, and in that moment that I realized that I had a lot of clutter, I had a lot of trauma and things that I had to deal with first. And in a moment when it gave me the opportunity to just connect with nature and start realizing the things that I have that in my life that's wrong. So I had to think about, suddenly I'm in a new environment and I'm in nature. What do I do? And in that time when I spent an absolute solitude, I realized, I am not satisfied with the results I was getting in life at all. I was not satisfied with how things shifted, especially when you've lost a lot of friends and you lost your health. And to me, but in my story, I started finding myself at the lowest point of my life, when I had literally nothing. That's where I found myself. I was literally torn to the ground. And when I was torn literally to the ground, I started to realize that, what, I'm a person, but instead of just finding myself, I could start to create who I want to be. Because suddenly I'm in a new town, I'm in a new environment, and I get to choose who I want to be. And in that moment, with all the experiences that I had with people I started to work with and started to connect with, I just started to find pieces of myself that I left undiscovered because of all the struggle I went through. And I started to exploring those things in my life that was wrong. It started shifting slowly. You see, finding yourself, it's not the thing that happens overnight, or suddenly you wake up next morning and suddenly you are this and that or that. It's literally about, it's a very slow process. And also for me, it was through a lot of struggle that I found myself. And I think for many other people, that's the same situation as well, because how can you change and grow when you're sitting in comfort? And it just makes sense moving to a different location, not knowing anyone at all. You are in a new field. You are in discomfort, and suddenly you have to adapt, and it forces you to change within yourself. And to me, that change within myself enabled me to become who I want to be, and it helped me find my purpose. It didn't happen overnight. It actually took me personally, it took me 7 months to get to that point. So the thing that I can say to people is that I don't think that there is a timeline that you can put on it by finding yourself. Some people might find themselves in a week or two who they want to be, and then start creating them who they really want to be. But first finding what you are, who you want to be, and then start creating yourself from what you found in yourself. Does that make sense? I know it sounds strange.
No,
and
I heard you, but I don't know if other people have heard you. Do you want to elaborate it? But I heard you. I got you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so especially when you, I know I can talk in riddles sometimes, but especially when you really struggle and your life just got thrown off course. I mean, when you start to try to look at the bigger picture and you start by helping yourself first, in the long run, you will find a bigger picture to why those things happen to you. And that adds up to the person that you should be, because because suddenly you were on this course, on someone else's course, you got thrown off completely, you questioned everything about yourself, and suddenly experiences start to happen in your life that is shaping you and that's enabling you to walk a different path. And that path, even now, no matter how dark it might be, can lead to who you should be.
Wow.
Because I know that's a weird shift, because suddenly you start to explore unknown territory. That's unknown territory in which who you are. I mean, let's say it took me 28 and a half years to find my purpose. 28 and a half years after 2 brain strokes and a ton of struggle.
Right.
And at 29, I started my life from scratch again, over, completely brand new.
Wow.
But it gave perspective. And yeah, I mean, that is just my story of how it changed me. And you can read the biographies of many successful people, many role models in this world. And like I mentioned earlier in this interview, that it all started with some sort of struggle. So if you are a person that really struggles, my advice on that current moment is to go forward. I know I know it's terrible. I know it's hard to say go forward. I mean, that's easy for you to say, Mister. You with your smile and your little hair and all blah 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 blah. But I mean, growth is not easy, and when you start to struggle, try to think of it from, what can I learn from it? If I struggle, what things have I done in my life before? Because if I keep doing on the same things that cause my struggle, then I will get the same results. That's what I'm getting at. So struggle is put in your way to help you make a shift. And if you can do that rightly, you start by looking at the results you're getting in life, and you start to really focusing on yourself in the struggle that you're experiencing. You will find that small glimpses of inspiration or some small glimpses of things comes through into your life that can enable you to put you on the course, on the life that you want to be, the person that you want to be. And to do that, I literally just tell people, when you really struggle, I mean, just go to nature, go sit down and just connect. Go think about who you want to become and write that stuff down. Write on paper. Think of all the ideas that comes to your mind. And in your struggle, when you start reading the things that you want to do, that's really where the shift starts to happen.
Wow.
And the lower that you are in life in that moment, the bigger your comeback will be.
Wow.
So you understand.
I like that.
So suddenly it's like, I'll put it. Do you know a bow and an arrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
You pull it back. You pull it back. Think of struggle as pulling back, pulling you back, pulling back, pulling you back. And the further it gets, the further it pulls you back, you manage to get that release, the greater the comeback, the harder the shot will be in the direction that you want to go.
That's amazing.
So struggle is the only thing that's only trying to launch you in something that's great. But you have to choose the direction where you want to be launched towards too. So if you just sit and struggle and you just sit there and you wait, struggle, okay, God, please help me, that's going to continue. You've got to be able to sit there, go to nature, go think of what you really want in your life, disconnect just a little bit, and think of, what do you really want to do? I mean, close your eyes and think, you know what, I think I really just want to be a good, I want to write a book. Write it down. I'm gonna write the book. Okay, when you want the book to be written? End of next year. Good. Write it down, give it a date, take it with you. And when you go back to your life after you disconnect a little bit, make that your target point, because when you shoot with a bow and arrow, it needs a target, right? So all the struggles in your life, use that as the momentum that's going to be needed for you to launch a direction where you want to be. Wow. Does that make sense? So for me, absolutely. I wanted to unite people. I wanted to bring people together because all the struggles were happening. And I launched myself as a DJ with all odds against me, with all odds. But I managed to do it. And yeah, I'm just feeling the purpose coming through. So that's just the advice that I can give out of personal experience. That, yeah, but yeah, I mean, struggle will only remain struggle if you don't have a target that you want to hit. And the target needs to be something that you want to do with your life. So make sure you have a target for what you want to do with your life. And that struggle and momentum that's actually working against you, it can really help you launch the greatest comeback you will ever think.
Wow. That's amazing. And I think there's a lot of the key things there. The first one, in finding yourself. I like nature as well. I meditate every day. Every day I go out in the country and meditate in the morning, whether it's snowing, raining, or what. That's how I start my day. And I connect. And since I started that process, I've been so empowered. I've been walking within my purpose, and so it works. Nature works because that's where creation is. And then the other aspect is when you are on, just to add on to what you've said, when you are at that point where you want to find yourself and you're in the depths of solitude. I don't know if you found this out, Dev, but in my experience is you're going to have to be selfish in that moment and focus on you and remove everything else that's surrounding yourself, or everything else that influences you, or things, or the responsibilities you have. You need to clear out your head and have a conversation with just you as a person. And you ask yourself, what is it you want to do as you as a person? When you ask yourself that, that's when the epiphany comes. Did you experience the same, that you had to block out everything?
I did that every single day. I'm doing that, and I have to keep doing that. It's not about just doing it once. It's about doing that, take action on that, and then make sure that you follow that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I really agree with you. I'm doing that literally every single day of my life, because I'm at that point where I realize that when I'm around certain people, it drains my energy. I can just pick it up because I know it's not good for myself. When you become to that point, I call it enlightenment. When you start to be uncovering your purpose and you start to increase your vibration, you start to connect with yourself, you start to, how do I say, reprogram internally, and you're living your purpose, and you start upgrading, and you started to cut out negative things out of your life, or negative people, negative experiences, things like that you have control over, which you can decide to leave. Then in that moment when you, for example, let's say you had to cut a few people in life, maybe you are emotional, you're a bit sad about it, but you know in the long run it's going to be better for you. Once you start going through that process and you start to grow out of it, you start to pick up your vibration increases, and you start to pick up that some people in your life, you kind of like, it's like a sense that you develop. Wow. That, you know, some people are not good for you and some people are really good for you. Okay. And if you focus on the thing that you want, it connects you with opportunities and the people and events that can help you reach your goal. So yeah, so you have to continuously evaluate your life and the people that you spend your time around with. Sometimes you have control over the people you spend your time with, sometimes you don't. Maybe you're in a family, you can't just change your life right now, and the only thing you can change about it is your reaction to it, and that's a process on its own. But I'm just saying it can start by cutting out the small things in your life that can add up to a big difference. You can, for example, cut one person out of your life and let's say a draining friend, a pessimistic friend or something like that. And it can add tremendous amount of value to your own well-being. So yeah, just look at what's happening in your life, see the things that you have control over, and just analyze it. I mean, is it really for you? Is it not for you? Then
Yeah.
start making plans to get that out of your life, because what you focus on grows, right? And if you focus on the things that's negative in your life, negative friends, negative things, then those things will continue to grow into your life. But once you start focusing on yourself and you try to become positive, more optimistic, and you kind of feed you kind of feed yourself, right? You kind of you don't water those negative events in your life anymore. Those things start to die out, and you start to grow better on that, and it aligns you with events and opportunities and people that's beneficial to you.
Right.
You understand? So, and as you increases your life, you just start becoming better, one tiny step at a time. And over a long period of time, that adds up, and that makes a big difference. A shift is not an overnight thing. It's a long process, but it's a process worth pursuing because you make a decision to do something for yourself, and you want to prioritize you for who you are, because if you continuously live a life for someone else, then you're just living a lie, and it hurts you in the process. I know that's a very deep thing to process, but that is the truth. And you have really to decide for yourself. What do you want? I mean,
What you're saying is the reality, and it takes courage. They
it
say
does
it
a lot.
takes courage to be alive, to live as a person. It takes a lot of courage, and to not everybody that is alive is actually leaving. Do you know what I mean? Not everybody that's leaving is alive.
Yes.
That type of thing, and and only a handful of people who completely experience the meaning of life. But
Yeah.
my other question that I wanted
Yes.
to ask you, trauma.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
mentioned a lot about trauma. So do
Yes.
you believe every single thing, including the trauma that we have gone through in life, we're meant to go through it for a reason?
Yes.
So that those things, that trauma we have gone through, have led us to be where we need to be today.
But yes, it does happen to you. You know, trauma is, yeah. Well, my short answer is yes, but it can only be used for good if you decide that you want to learn from it. You can sit back and you can focus on trauma that happened into your life, and it can, in your life, will be miserable for the rest of your life. No offense. I'm just saying that it's about your perspective on the trauma. That's where it changes. You cannot decide, or you can see this trauma as something good in your life. I mean, and that's difficult to process. I mean, it's extremely difficult to process, to tell this to someone maybe who lost a father or a mother or a brother or a sister. That's, if I tell that they will smack me in the face if I tell them like that. Yeah, no, it's supposed to have happened. No, I'm just saying that certain traumas in our life happens because maybe it's happened to you because you were meant to do something great, and that was needed so that you can shift and impact the world on a scale that you haven't thought ever was possible.
Right. So sorry to cut you off. So for example, in your case, you were born 100% on point, everything going on. So you believe the disability that came later on in life was meant to come to put you in a position that has made you find your purpose?
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But it took me personally 4.5 years to figure that out.
Okay, I'll take a quick break and then we come back, and we want to understand that process so that other people can understand that process. Oh my God, I didn't think I don't know if we're going to have time to touch a lot of things, because, you know, you've had a near-death experience, you know, you went from that to a lot of trauma that only people can imagine. Yeah. So you might have to come back for a part 2 section. I know we're running out of time and I know there's a lot of things, but I think I might have to bring you back onto the show and we talk about more things. The next aspect I wanted to talk about is the fact that you are a DJ.
Yes.
Even though you have your disability, but you are a DJ.
Yes.
How was that journey?
Oh, well, first things first, I always wanted to be a DJ, frankly, because of uniting people and being on stage is awesome. So yeah, and I always wanted to pursue that, but never had the opportunity. And then out of all my struggle, I moved to a small town. There was an opportunity, and I said, you know, Dave, it is time. Take a leap of faith. See what you can. You might not be able to dance anymore. You might not be able to do some things, but hell, if you can one-hand DJ, you can do that. And I started doing that. And that helped me unlock my purpose because I just realized that's what I want to do. I love the stage. I love making music. I love seeing people dance and happy. I want to inspire them, and doing it one-handedly, 50% blindness with all odds against me. Hell, that's a challenge and I'm up for it. and the only other DJ that I know in South Africa that does that is Black Coffee. He also teaches with one hand. And to me, that's such an inspiration. And I say, you know what, Dave, hell, you should do it. Come on. And I absolutely love it because also house music in itself helped me it actually helped me heal my soul after I struggled so much. I started listening to music and stuff. And then when I started listening to house music and I combined that with my passion for DJing, it just
clicked.
It came together, and I said, you know what? And yeah, I taught myself. I do all my mixing. I do everything myself. Wow. And I just pursued that passion with, like I said, I just pursued everything with all odds against me. And yeah, I launched it January this year. And at the current rates, yeah, I think I'm very proud of myself for locking in 3 international residencies. And I think that in itself, by teaching it yourself, I think that's an achievement. And I'm going forward because that's the life I'm pursuing, because I want to see people together. I want to see them united. I want to see them uplifted. I want to see cultures be together. I want to see people just realizing after all the crap that's happened in the world that they deserve to be happy. And house music is such an insane genre to bring people together. And to me, that's just purpose. I think it helped me save my soul. Why not helping others in the process?
Wow. So
yeah,
are you the second DJ that is able to do music single-handedly in Africa?
Currently that I'm aware of, yes. Currently in South Africa that I'm aware of, yes.
Wow, that's amazing. So did you lose your hand because of the disability, because of the stroke?
I have my hand, but look at this. See, okay, you see this my hand right here?
Yeah.
I can't use my fingers at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's disabled.
Right.
I can't use it at all.
Right.
So my hand is literally, I can, for example, hold a phone. I can do that, but I can't do my fine motor skills. It's non-existent.
Wow.
So I live my life one-handedly, but I use my left hand for big movements. But for example, yeah, because it affected my shoulder, my left leg as well, and being 50% blind, yeah, I taught myself how to drive a car again. I taught everything myself. So yeah, I mean,
so is your sight restored now?
Yeah, I'm doing my own rehabilitation. I do everything myself. So I'm not paying anyone do it for me. I'm doing everything myself. And one thing I also want to mention is that that's just, I think that we will talk about it maybe in the second part of the thing. And yeah, you know, when doctors told me, you know, Dave, you should be in a wheelchair, or you will never come off chronic medication again, especially that part. And that's a story on its own, which can be used as inspiration, is that when I was in a very all-time low in my disability, I managed to get myself off chronic medication in 6 months. And that's something that we can share about nutrition and things. Maybe in time to come, should there be a demand for it?
Okay.
Then I will share that story with you. And yeah, and what it all comes down to is that, and this is just how things are shifting, we can just make the conclusion is that treat anything possible, no matter how hard you struggle. And if you start to focus on the possibilities and the unique things that can come out of your struggle, then you start to make a big shift in your own life. Because you must understand that for every action is a reaction, and also your struggle, the amount of force that your struggle is, there can be the opposite success for it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if you struggle deeply, you can succeed in the same way.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I'm getting? Because what struggle does, it kind of forces you into the ground. It forces you in a dark place. It forces you to make roots. And once you start focusing on the rewards, it actually starts growing. And you start to become a person that can actually serve purpose. And that's why, for example, if you look at many stories and many biographies and things like that, people will tell you that, you know what, your life is like a tree. And the deeper the roots are, the bigger the tree is, the stronger the tree is. And that's actually the semblance that your life. Your struggle can force you to make very, very, very deep roots. But also it enables you to become a very strong person. And that strong person becomes a tree. And no strong tree can survive without strong roots. So I'm just saying that your struggle is actually preparing you. If you allow it and if you start to learn from it, it enables you to become something much greater than you've ever thought possible. But you have to be specific in what you want to do with it.
Absolutely.
You can't just wait. You can't just wait for it. You have to say, no, I want to write a book, or I want to do that. And that shift can enable you to live a life in years to come. And then when you reflect back on it, you will say, you know what? Yes, my struggle made me the strongest person I could possibly be, because suddenly it enabled me to change the lives of thousands of people. It enabled me to make the world a better place. And that's purpose, right? To leave the world better behind than what you found it. And some struggles only happen to you because maybe you were just chosen. Maybe you are chosen to help make the world a better place. Maybe you are chosen to do something better. And if you want to do some great change in this world, you are going to struggle very uniquely. Don't think big change in this world only comes by suddenly you change people's lives. No, you have to go through a personal struggle first before you can change the lives of others.
And really, do you believe in God?
Of course I do.
Absolutely. Okay. So I'm about to say something personally for myself.
Oh.
I had a conversation with God last year, because for me, to be honest, I think I really found myself last year, like after all these years, like really understanding me to the core. And in those conversations, I asked God that some of the things, the struggles or the traumas that I'd gone through, I asked God, why was, I was asking, you're God, you're meant to protect me. Why am I going through all of this? Why have I had to go through all of it? But the beauty of it now is, if anybody ever comes to me to talk about something that is going on in their life, I am almost 95% sure I get what they're saying, because I've been there. You know what I mean? I'm able to help them navigate out of the situation because I've been there. So when God said to me, I needed you to understand your purpose, I needed you to understand the struggles of humanity in order for you to be the instrument, in order for you to help other people, I needed you to understand. I don't want you to sit in front of people and lie and say, oh, I know what you're going through, or you go through, like, I needed you to experience. So it resonates what you're saying. You know, there are so many struggles sometimes we go through, and we try and make a big issue. We try and blame God sometimes to say, why are you letting this happen to me? Because you know what I mean? But sometimes life, God, the universe makes you go through those things for a reason. You need to just stop to understand, hey, what is the reason? because whatever you go through is not, I believe every single thing that we go through in life is not a mistake.
It's not a life sentence.
Yeah, it's no, it's all within purpose. It's all within molding you to be where you need to be. It's
Yes, that's true.
It's all within molding you to become your purpose, but it's hard. It takes a lot of strength. Like, that's my next question to you. Where did you get the strength? Because it takes a lot of strength emotionally, mentally, and physically to be as strong as you are. Not everybody is strong. We're seeing high rates of suicide, especially as a man. We're seeing high rates of suicide within the man. We're seeing high rates of domestic violence. We're seeing war. We're seeing a lot of destruction because not everybody is strong-minded. How did you become strong-minded? Where do you get your strength from? What is your source of strength?
Well, honestly, I was forced into positions of all the struggles I went through to where I only had myself. So I had to make a decision. Do I pick myself up, yes or no? And it was much harder said than done, to be honest. But also it shifted for me when I moved to a small town. Because when I moved to a small town, I saw some people with a hell lot of struggle, and I thought I struggled a lot. And there was one person that I saw struggled, and I really felt that pain with that person. And to me, when I saw someone else struggle just deeply as I do, in various of ways, that's where it shifted to me, because I realized I had to become the strong one because I wanted to help that person. So it kind of motivated me to rise and say, you know what, Dave, you have a strong mental game on you. You have it. You've always had it, but there suddenly is this person in a small town that really needs your help. You can either decide to sit on your own, or you can do something about it. And that's where it all shifted for me, to be able to become stronger because I wanted to help that person. I just think that, yeah, I just believe that women is a gift to man, and I found God in that purpose by saying, you know what, Dave, women is a gift to man, and you have to empower them as well, not only yourself. Reach out to them, help them, and you will find your purpose even more. Wow. And that's only one, and it led me to DJing, because I want to unite people, both men and women. I want both men and women to be empowered, but also in my bio, who I am as a person, is that, like I said, I'm totally against women abuse.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, and I think women should be empowered and they should be respected as well. They should not be undervalued. And yeah, because it took a woman that was very damaged to help me add to the purpose that I'm supposed to live.
Wow. Okay. So
that takes things deep on a way different level now.
I know. That's why that one we'll leave it for the next show. But to close off your interview today, what is the key message you want to leave people, the listeners, or not even just the listeners, the humanity? What's the message you want to give to the world today?
Well, okay, well, I can give 5 books and about all the things I want to say to humanity. But out of all honesty, this might be a shift from what's been spoken to about the past hour and a half. But one thing I want to tell the people is that be honest. Be honest with yourself, because if you're not honest with yourself, you're only going to live a lie. Be honest in what do you want to do with your life. Be honest with how you treat people. Be honest about everything in your life, because once you start becoming honest and you start to understand the things that's in your life, why something happened, maybe because you've been dishonest, or maybe you lied a lot, but whatever it might be, is that if us as humans want to move forward, we have to start to become honest. And the more we become honest with ourselves and the things we want to do, the more we will shift other people in our lives. And that's essential principle and a trait that's needed to help the entire world move forward. Because I think for the past few decades, people started to lie too much to each other, and up to that point where people started to struggle and suffer.
Mhm.
And people disconnect with their purpose because they don't really know themselves. They lie to themselves. They wear masks every day. And this is advice I'm giving. I know this is way different from what's been taught, what's been said in the past hour and a half, but for me, especially as well, I had to become honest with myself first before things in my life started to change as well. It's one of the things that I had to do. That you can take from this hour and a half that maybe helped you make a shift or just helped you become aware of something, then that is purpose fulfilled.
Right.
And I'm very grateful to be able to talk to you here on the show. And if it helped one person just to gain a different perspective, then I'm satisfied.
Me too.
And yeah, and that's the thing. And the life is not about changing the world. It's about changing the world for one person at a time.
Yeah.
And yeah,
That's what people don't realize. People think that change comes at a massive scale, or like when it's time to change, you have to impact millions of people. We're not God, you know, only God can do that. The change starts with one person. It starts with me. I have to be the change I want to see, and then the next person as well needs to be the change they want to see, and then the next person, and then it grows, and then boom, voila, we have change. And that's why change takes time. That's why growth takes time. That's why it takes 12 months for a person to have their next birthday, because it's a person. Yeah. It's been amazing having you on the show, Dev, and I look forward to having you on the show. I have different things that I have put down that I want to ask you for the different show. As usual, as much as you can say, oh, what should I prepare for? Was it that bad?
No, I enjoy that. I enjoy talking. I enjoy being interviewed.
I know you were so nervous about the fact that I didn't give you questions. You didn't know what I was going to ask. Because I like to keep it real. I don't like things that are staged. I like things that are organic, because I want it to be as real as it can be. I want people to be able to understand the struggle. And although I know we didn't touch much about the journey of you having a stroke, and then we touched a big element about the reason why and what came out of that, which is good, because we want to push the positivity. But the story of how things actually transpired is a story for the next stage. So you're coming back, please put it down. I'm so privileged. I'm so privileged to be around such an amazing energy like yourself. I'm super feeling like super blessed right now, because some of the messages you spoke to me personally. I know some of the messages you spoke to somebody, one person listening in. You keep doing what you're doing. You're such an inspiration to the world, and humanity needs to see more of you.